The countdown to discovering how to bring your God-given purpose to life starts now. Step one is stepping into faith. Step two is taking real massive action. Step three is watching God multiply your efforts in ways you never expected. These steps aren't just spiritual ideas, they line up with what experts call the four pillars of self-belief: learning from your past wins, being inspired by others, hearing positive words, and managing your mindset. Research shows that even just reflecting on past victories can boost your confidence and help you move forward. So, what if God's been preparing you to fly all along, and the key is learning how to build your belief the right way? Let's talk about what might be standing in your way. Sometimes the biggest obstacle isn't out there, it's the quiet voice inside that questions whether you're really ready for what God has set before you. This is self-doubt. It's not just a passing thought, it's a hidden block that can quietly hold back the plans God has for your life. Self-doubt doesn't always arrive loudly. Most of the time, it slips in as what seems like rational caution. You might hear yourself say, "I'm just not prepared enough." It's easy to mistake this hesitation for wisdom, but often it's actually fear in disguise. Psychologists have studied this and found that our minds are wired to avoid risk, especially when we fear failing. That's why self-doubt can feel so convincing. Instead of stepping forward, we freeze, convinced that staying safe is the best option. Take, for example, what researchers see over and over with students facing tough challenges. When students reflect on past setbacks, they often believe they can't succeed, so they hold back from trying again. But studies also show that when people look back and recognize even small wins, times they've overcome obstacles before, their confidence grows. This is what Albert Bandura, a leading psychologist, calls a mastery experience. It's the idea that every time you succeed, even in small ways, it builds your belief for the next challenge. You see this same pattern in some of the most powerful stories from Scripture. Think about Moses. When God called him to lead his people out of Egypt, Moses didn't jump at the chance. He hesitated and told God all the reasons he couldn't do it. "I'm not eloquent. They won't listen to me. Send someone else." But God answered each excuse, reminding Moses of past moments where he'd already been equipped and promising to fill in the gaps. This is a spiritual version of a mastery experience, God showing Moses that with faith he could do what seemed impossible. The tension between faith and fear is real. Self-doubt isn't just a mental block, it's a spiritual test. It asks whether you'll trust your own limitations or believe in what God says about you. And what does God say? That you are chosen, capable, and loved, not because you've already proven yourself, but because he's called you for a purpose. He doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. It's normal to feel self-doubt. Everyone does at some point. But instead of letting it stop you, what if you saw it as a signal? Not a stop sign, but a reminder that you're stepping out of your comfort zone and into a place where faith has to take the lead. When you feel that hesitation, it's not proof you're not ready. It's a mark that you're about to grow. The real question is whether you'll let that feeling keep you grounded or use it as a reason to trust God for more. The good news is you're not left to figure this out on your own. There are proven principles, both spiritual and psychological, that help you move from doubt to belief. Up next, we'll break down the four pillars that can help you build unshakable confidence step by step. Belief in yourself isn't just about wishful thinking. It's something you can actually build, and there's a clear framework for how to do it. These are the four pillars of spiritual self-belief: mastery experiences, social modeling, social persuasion, and psychological responses. Each one gives you a practical way to strengthen your confidence, both in yourself and in what God can do through you. Let's start with mastery experiences. This is about looking back at moments when you've succeeded, even if they seem small at the time. Every win is a building block. In faith, it's not just about your own ability, it's about recognizing where God was with you in those moments. Remember David before he faced Goliath? He didn't just walk into that battle blind. He remembered how God helped him protect his sheep from lions and bears. Those past victories gave him the confidence to face something bigger. When you take time to reflect on where you've overcome before, you're not only seeing your own growth, you're seeing evidence that God has been preparing you all along. Now, social modeling, this is about the people you watch and the company you keep. Have you ever noticed how seeing someone else step out in faith can make you believe you can do it too? Maybe it's someone in your church who started a new ministry or a friend who trusted God through a hard time. Their story becomes a living example. It's not about copying them. It's about realizing that if God can work through them, He can work through you too. These real life examples show you what faith in action looks like and remind you that you're not alone on this journey. Social persuasion is the next pillar, and it's all about the words you hear and speak. Encouragement from others can go a long way, but it's even more powerful when it's rooted in God's truth. When you hear scripture spoken over your life, things like, I am fearfully and wonderfully made, or I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, it starts to shape how you see yourself. Repeating these truths isn't just positive thinking. It's aligning your mindset with what God says about you. When you let those words sink in, they start to replace the doubts and fears that hold you back. Finally, there's psychological responses. This is how you handle stress, fear, and the emotional ups and downs that come with taking risks. Faith doesn't mean you never feel anxious, but it does give you tools to manage it. Prayer, worship, and quiet moments with God help calm your mind and steady your heart. It's like noticing a warning light on your dashboard. Those anxious feelings are signals, not stop signs. When you bring them to God, you find peace and clarity that help you keep moving forward. Use these 4 pillars together, and you won't just stand, you'll be ready to take flight. And when you look back at your own story, you might start to see that every challenge you've faced and every victory you've won was never random. There's a bigger picture, and your past holds the proof. When you think about the moments you've overcome, whether it was a tough season, a challenge you didn't think you could handle, or a win that seemed small at the time, what you're really seeing is God's preparation at work in your life. This idea that your past victories are proof of God getting you ready for what's next isn't just inspiring talk, it's grounded in both faith and research. Let's talk about mastery experiences for a second. Every time you've faced a problem and come out on the other side, you've stacked up what psychologists call mastery experiences. These are the moments that build real confidence. In David's story, when he stood up to Goliath, he didn't see himself as a rookie. He remembered every time he protected his sheep from lions and bears. Each of those moments was a mastery experience, a proven confidence building step, not just in his own strength, but in God's faithfulness. David knew he could trust God in a big battle because he'd already seen God show up in the smaller ones. This isn't just an ancient story, it's how your mind works too. Studies show that when you reflect on past successes, even the small ones, your belief in what you can handle next actually grows. Researchers call this self-efficacy, and it's one of the strongest predictors of whether you'll take a leap of faith or stay stuck. Brain scans even show that self-affirmation, reminding yourself of what you've overcome, lights up the same reward circuits that fire when you succeed, reinforcing God's work in your past victories. Sometimes, though, it's easy to forget just how far you've come. You might brush off your achievements or think they don't count because they weren't headline moments. But those steps, getting through a rough patch, making a hard decision, or simply staying faithful when things felt uncertain, are the very things that shape your readiness for what's ahead. Like soul coach Jean Nanglais puts it, your soul is here for a reason, specific to you. Each challenge you've overcome is a stepping stone, not just a memory. Scripture backs this up too. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." That promise isn't just about someday, it's about now. Every step you've taken, especially the hard ones, is part of God's preparation. So here's something practical. Pause this week, write down 3 big challenges you overcame, and see God's preparation at work in your story. You'll start to notice a pattern. Those moments weren't random. They're reminders that God has already proven He's with you, and they're meant to give you courage for the next step. As you look back and recognize how God has been preparing you all along, you'll find it's not about having all the answers or waiting for the perfect moment. It's about seeing the evidence that you're ready to move forward in faith. God's promises become real when you believe. The four pillars: mastery experiences, social modeling, social persuasion, and psychological responses, are practical ways to build that belief, and Scripture backs them up. Each time you remember a past win, see faith in someone else, speak truth over yourself, or calm your heart in prayer, you're building spiritual confidence. This week, pick one pillar, maybe social persuasion, and speak a scripture truth over yourself each morning. Philippians 4:13 says, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Let that be your anthem. Share in the comments which victory you're claiming through faith this week. Stay blessed by the best friends.